Thank you all for joining us for this important discussion on slam dunk your debt by putting your own credit on offense. So I am Benson B. Webb Jr., and I am the CIO and founder of Golden Web Capital. I'm also the treasurer for Rise Community Credit Union, Minnesota's first Black-led credit union within the state. And again, I am joined by some wonderful guests on today's panel. But what are we discussing? How are we discussing these things? Well, we are in March, and we cannot talk about March until we talk about March Madness. And I'm sad to report to everyone that Alabama State did not make it past Auburn, who was almost there. I think we could have made it if we had the chance, but we'll have another opportunity next time. But just like in basketball, when we think about finances and your financial success, it's all about strategy. It's all about teamwork. And it's about playing both offense and that defense. Because if you're focused only on defense, you're just trying to, let's say, block bad credit or avoid mistakes, you never really score the financial wins you deserve. So tonight, excuse me, we're planning on flipping that game because it's time to put your credit on offense. You're going to make smart plays, build strong financial habits, and setting yourself up for long-term success, whether you're making fast breaks towards better credit or need to rebound from past mistakes. Gotta love you basketball puns. We're here to give you the game plan to win. So I do want to introduce our wonderful panel who will help this discussion in a few things before we get into that. Couple ground rules, just to make sure everyone is aware. So we're going to be doing a poll as we go through this. We have a poll set up just so we can gauge the conversation and gauge what information that the public wants to know, right? We're constantly trying to improve these programs, and we appreciate you all for helping with that. So when you see the poll, don't be afraid, don't be alarmed. Just go ahead and answer to the best of your abilities. And again, it will help us continue to give programs like this the love they need and the power they need. But again, when it comes down to our discussion tonight, I want everyone to understand this is just not we're talking at people. This is a community conversation, right? We're trying to involve everyone and understand how we can answer questions that the people want to know. And to answer some questions tonight, and please feel free to come off mute, ask questions, get involved, because this is for the community. I can sit here and talk about it all day, but I'd rather let those wonderful panelists do a lot of the talking now. So I would like to introduce Ms. Diane Walenta. She's a member of the task force for the Financial Empowerment Center, but I think she could do a better job introducing herself. So Diane, give the people a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thank you, Benson, and good evening, everybody. I'm so excited about tonight because credit is one of my favorite things to talk about and help people through. So, again, my name is Diane Walenta. I'm a mortgage loan officer. I've been doing that for many, many years, helping people get into their homes, building wealth through buying homes, selling homes, buying that next home. But again, part of that is really looking at credit, building credit, understanding your credit. So it's truly a passion of mine, and I'm so excited to talk to you about this. So again, as Benson said, we're looking for some involvement here, hoping you can join us in chatting. We're here to help you and kind of guide you through that process. So thanks, Benson. I appreciate the introduction.
Absolutely. And Diane, people probably remember you from other times we've done this. She is a fan favorite, so we're glad to see you back. And we have another.
Thank you. That's so sweet of you. Thank you.
And I'm just telling you what the truth. And we have another fan favorite because we had to bring him back for another one, Mr. James Holmes Jr. Can you please reintroduce yourself to everyone?
My name is James Holmes Jr. I am the CEO of Black Lion Inc., as well as Black Lion Foundation, which is a nonprofit. My companies have an emphasis on financial literacy. I am the author of multiple financial literacy books, the most recent of which is Financial Education is Personal. You can find that anywhere on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, many other places. I've been in the business for over 40 years now, and spent the last 5 years just working solo for myself, Black Lion.
We appreciate you, James, for coming back again and sharing some more of that wisdom. I am curious, when trying to repair credit, and we're talking about credit, should some people take aggressive steps to fix their credit score quickly, or is it better to play, let's say, the long game with small, steady moves? Diane, James, feel free to answer that one.
I truly believe, that the slow and steady is probably the best. It credit is a moving target. Your credit score can change daily. And so trying to fix it, first of all, you need to understand what's creating your issues. And so trying to fix them, sometimes there's strategic ways to do that. And I always say fixing credit sometimes is not intuitive. So what I mean by that is what you think is going to help your credit score may actually be hurting your credit score. So some of the best advice I have is to try not to do it on your own. There's lots of information on the internet. You should check out James's book. There's lots of great information in there. I've kind of been stalking him since I've been introduced to him, and just kind of looking at some of the information he's providing. So again, get yourself educated. Know that it took you a while maybe to get there. It might take you a little while to get out of there, but again, moving that slowly. James, what do you think? Tell me.
Great. Well, primarily in a capsule, I'm a strong believer in just doing it slower, steady, because it lasts longer. Make it sustainable. Make it to where it will last you for a lifetime. And I believe about 80% of it's mindset. Just make it up your mind that you're going to commit to it. And then the other 20% is knowledge. And ABAP has got that right near you.
Correct.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like you said, it's about the mindset. You can't, because I've seen, let's go back a little bit. I've seen a lot of, I get things on social media where people are trying to get things done quickly and as fast as possible. And, there is some legitimacy, I guess, to the speed behind it. But again, when it comes down to making a behavioral change that you need to make to encourage the right behaviors, it takes time. It is going to take time. It's going to take practice. And having that slow and steady, keeping the ball moving at a pace that makes sense is something that's powerful.
Yeah,
So,
and Benson, James touched on it a little bit, but I think it's really important to point out that there are a lot of companies out there that'll charge you to, and they'll talk about, we can help improve your credit scores by 100 points in so many days. Be wary. Be wary of those companies because, again, they're going to take your money. I have seen very few of them succeed in helping people build their credit scores or improve their credit scores. So again, do your education, do your research, and find somebody you can trust to help you with it.
And I mean this with the ultimate sincerity, is ABAP has lots and lots of resources, and they don't charge you for them, versus
Right.
the almost like a get rich quick scheme that you hear on Instagram and places like that. But they might work every once in a while, but I've been doing this for over 40 years, and I haven't really seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet.
Agree.
but there it is. So you're hearing it from the experts who've been doing this longer than some of us have been alive, and you got to respect it and you got to appreciate it. So to practice again on some of my terminology, because I'm not a sports person, if I could be transparent, everybody. So I'm just learning these terms. So I'm going to use them. Might not make a lot of sense when I use them, but let's talk about taking the shot here. So how do you know when it's the right time to open up a new credit card, right? Because maybe you're trying to build your credit versus when it should be looked at as something that could hurt your score. Because if I'm, understanding correctly, too many inquiries could look bad. But what's that balance people need to have? What's the best way to know when they need to open that new credit card or new account, wherever the case may be?
James, let's tag team this. So you take this one first. Okay.
Be happy to. Thank you. First of all, a credit portfolio is almost like a snowflake. No two are exactly the same. However, generally speaking, let's just say if a person has no credit, yes, obviously you want to get some established. One of my places that I like to go to get started is simply called creditcards.com. What I like about that particular site is that that site, first of all, there's no inquiry. It's not a hard pull. And in addition to that, it will literally tell you which cards that you have a high likelihood of actually being approved for. Because obviously, if it says, okay, the likelihood of being approved is very low, okay, it's not a good idea. Um, Also, a secured credit card is never a bad idea. The main thing is not to get overextended. I think that being overextended is something that happens to, I would probably say, the majority of the people. I know when I was in college, it happened to me. So yeah, I had to learn some hard lessons too. So it's not just, everyone out there. A lot of times it's us that are in the business also. We've had to take some lumps and learn that way.
I always say I learn more from screwing up than I do from doing it right. So I don't feel bad if you've been in that position. So again, you learn from those mistakes. One of the sites I like to use, it's a little different than a credit card. It's called Self Inc. And what this site does is it allows you to set up an account with them where you put money into an account. Really acts as more of like an installment loan. And what it's doing is it's putting this money into the account, reporting to all three bureaus every month, and then allowing you that to help you build that credit. But again, it's also allowing you to save some money while you're doing it. So it doesn't have to be a lot. I think they take as a minimum of $25 a month to help you start that. So check out that site. A lot of great information on there too. And they do have credit cards. Once you've been with them a while, they'll offer you a credit card that's tied to that account. So again, I think that's a great way. Again, it's Self Inc. But again, I think you don't need a lot of credit. And I think that's a misnomer of a lot of people. One or two credit cards is perfect. And the credit limit doesn't need to be $10,000. You could have a $500 credit limit and build a great credit score on that. It's really, and we'll talk about a little later, how you strategically use that credit card to do it. So I also like to think people need a mix of credit. Not only a credit card, but maybe a secured loan, a loan, an installment loan. You don't need a lot. You just need that mix of credit to help build that credit score. James, would you agree with that?
Oh, I totally agree. Self does work fine, and that is a legitimate site.
Mm-hmm.
Another site that I have some favor toward is Credit Strong, which is similar to
Oh,
Self, where it literally gives you an installment loan and it reports to all three bureaus. You pay that every month, and it's a great way for anyone to build credit. And also, getting back to what Diane was saying, as far as you don't need a lot, that is so very true. What's more important than having a lot is how you use it, your utilization. If you read the books, they'll say keep it to 30%. In other words, if your balance, or I'm sorry, if your limit is 1,000, 300, I lean more toward keep it at 10%. And I'll tell you, I've seen lots and lots of portfolios over my years, and the best ones with the highest credit scores have been the people that literally pay their loans down every month.
mm-hmm. Agreed.
Okay, okay. And you bring up a great point there, James, and as you as well, Diane. When it comes down to the cards, one way it sounds like to manage your cards is not to really have a ton of them, right? It's a lot to manage. You can't keep a hand on everything, right? You might have to get a certain app or something else to help you out. But when it comes down to the way to manage these cards, and let's say I think James, you touched on it, right? When you have to pay them off, do you encourage people to pay them off immediately, or do you suggest leaving a balance there? Because some people, certain rules, certain arguments say, you want to show that you do have some risk assessment, not risk assessment, to backtrack a little bit, some ways of paying down your risk, right? That you have some debt on hand and then you are showing that you can't pay it off, just paying it off. Do you all agree that's the best way to go about it? Or do you think you should just pay them off immediately and let that be what it is?
Yeah, a
I
little
think,
tip I
go
have. Oh, I'm
ahead.
sorry, James. Go ahead.
I think that the average person will naturally probably have some debt. So now, and I understand exactly what you're saying. That hey, a lot of times Creditors want to see that you have some balances or whatever. But you know what? As far as I'm concerned, if you've paid them all down, that's a good problem to have, in my opinion. And I'll live with that. I really will.
The other thing I wanted to bring up though is what I'd like people to do is when they open that credit card, set up that automatic payment every month, that minimum payment. And even if you pay them off every month, you're okay with that. But what happens if you don't? And you don't want to miss a payment because again, a late payment is going to affect your credit scores. So even just that minimum payment set up every month, you know it's going to happen automatically. Set it up automatically, comes out, you don't have to worry about it, but then make that additional principal balance after that. You won't risk having a late payment on the credit card then.
Another I guess maybe we're going to get into little hacks later, but just something I want to interject. A personal favorite of mine is instead of making your credit card payments once a month, make them twice a month. It's a little hack. And if you do that, you'll notice that you'll get a little bump in your score. Just trust me on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's interesting. Give me some good tips too, so let me make sure I get all. That's why I like doing things. I get to improve my financial assessment as well as everybody else. But a lot of good information, a lot of good things, because something that I feel like is important to talk through is, when we do make the mistakes, because we're human, right? We're going to make mistakes. We're not going to be perfect. And there are times where we do miss that payment and things go into collection, things go into the charge-offs. And, again, there's rules that change, right? To talk about medical debt that you don't really necessarily see that reported on your credit score anymore. You pay it off. Those are the questions that I feel like people really want to know. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself there, but when it comes down to it, when it comes to those collections and charge-offs, would it be beneficial for someone to pay them off with the collection agencies, or are there any other strategies that people should consider for these type of situations?
You want to go on that one first, Diane?
Sure, be happy to. So again, I think the best strategy on a collection account, and I think you have to understand collection accounts. And what I find on credit scores or credit reports is those collection accounts, when they're filed as a collection account, that's your first start date. Every time something happens on that collection account, that really start date starts over again. And so what happens is you have to understand that once that collection account is filed on your credit report, your credit score takes that first hit. When you pay it off, it's now going to start reporting as a paid collection account versus an open collection account. Your credit score is going to take another hit. Again, it's a cycle. So what you want to do is, my best advice is to call the creditor and talk to them. And I think negotiate how you pay that off. Creditors are really good at filing collection accounts. They're really bad at taking them off. Okay. And so you want to make sure that that information is reported then back to the credit bureau that you actually paid it off. And know that your credit score might take that hit when that's reported again. And you have to have time to have that score rebuild, but it will rebuild faster once that credit score is paid off. But again, make sure you get everything in writing from that creditor. Tell them that you want it in writing when you pay it off. You want proof you paid it off, okay? Because again, and hang on to it, because they then tend to sell that credit debt sometimes. Sometimes we see them pop up again, even after you've paid it off. So collection and judgments are just one of those things that you really need to be careful with and really do your research on and make sure you're taking care of. James, what do you think?
I think, first of all, let's make sure that we have a good, accurate credit report. The site that I love is annualcreditreport.com. It's free. It's absolutely free. No strings attached. You can have that once a year, and it pulls all 3 credit bureaus. Now, when you do that, I would recommend that you print it off, because once you actually leave from the site, it does not stay saved. So I would recommend that you print those, just print hard copies so you have them. So first of all, when you're dealing with something like this, you get a call from a creditor or a letter or whatever, just make sure that it's actually yours. And also, the calls do not work in your favor, okay? They do not. because when they call, it's all designed for you to verify that debt, really, with you not even realizing it. Because notice they'll call, they'll go, "Is this James Holmes? Yeah, are you this? What's your address? What's your birthday? Blah, 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 blah." They haven't introduced themselves. They haven't, and then they tell you, and it's on a recorded line. And so that's set up to where it's all in their favor, not in yours at all, because sometimes maybe it really is your debt, but sometimes it's not. And it's pretty discouraging if you've just verbally verified a debt that's not even yours, or maybe it's an old debt, or maybe it's paid off, or Diane talked a little bit about the age on these. So they're supposed to drop after 7 years. Let's say if that's almost 7 years up and now you just verbally verified it, guess what? That clock starts all over again. And then they got 7 more years to basically just hound you about that. So that's one of the things, and it's like, how do you eat an elephant? It's kind of like one bite at a time, because there's so much that this can encompass. But hopefully, that's a start. Oh, another thing is, I would recommend that when they do call you, I would just say, I do not want to be recorded. They'll probably hang up. But if they call back again, just say you would like correspondence in writing, because when they're asking you questions and they're not identifying themselves, it's a trap. It's a trap. We encourage you to pay your debts. We encourage you to take care of them. But it's not fair for you to basically be almost assaulted by some of these creditors, and some of them are fraudulent. Now, some of them are legitimate, but some are fraudulent. So my point of it is, if it's yours, let's take care of it, but let's not do more than what you absolutely are obligated to do.
And there's really nothing wrong with negotiating a debt. Okay, a lot of the creditors will negotiate a debt. So if you owe 1,000 and you say, okay, I will pay this today if you allow me to pay 800. So again, there's nothing wrong with that. But you want to make sure you know how they're going to then report it on the credit bureau. So if you do that, you want them to report it as paid in full. You don't want to have them reported as settled account. Okay, so there's again a lot of information on how to handle collections and how to negotiate that. So really, sometimes if that's what you're working with, get some advice and educate yourself on how to do it properly.
And another option you have, if you're involved in negotiating with them, is what I call pay for delete. Like Diane mentioned earlier, is that a lot of times people will pay off their collection and they think it's done. Well, you go somewhere to buy something, maybe a car or something like that, and it'll say pay collection, but that's not helping your score. The object of these companies is to get paid. And so if you offer to pay for delete, then right away they're probably going to say no. But if you stick with it, you'd be surprised at how many that says yes. So what happens there is you've paid them maybe the full amount, or maybe a negotiated amount that's a little less than that. But what's more importantly is they've completely deleted that from all three of your credit bureaus.
And again, get it in writing. Always get it in writing.
Absolutely.
Great advice. Great advice.
And I appreciate all of it, because that's something I wasn't even aware. I know they always say you can negotiate things, but just having, I guess, the confidence to do so, because you have somebody with you, or you might have somebody that's working with you, or a coach or someone like that who understands and knows how this game goes. And since we're talking about negotiating, I feel like I want to know, can you negotiate like the interest rates too, or would that be something that's more or less set in stone? How can we play that if there is an opportunity to negotiate?
Truth be told, Benson, it's all negotiable. It's all negotiable. Here's a scenario. Think about this. Let's say you have a charge off. Okay. So the whole, the way that happens is there's been a debt. The company says they couldn't collect the debt, and so they charge it off, which means that they get a tax credit for that amount. Okay. And so they're not authorized to even collect that debt anymore. It's actually illegal if they do, once they've actually charged it off with the IRS. So what they do instead is they sell that debt. They group them all together in what we call a portfolio, and then they sell them to these collection agencies, and the collection agencies, they're buying them for pennies on a dollar. And so in essence, over a small amount, everything that the collection agency collects is a profit. So it's much better for them to collect something than to collect nothing.
Hey, it's something I'm so, hey, you honestly, it's something, obviously we're not getting told this in school. No one's talking about this. This is empowering. This is empowering, really, because now I feel like there's a way to fight back or even have a way to get what I'm asking for and you get things that you want out of life, So that's definitely interesting and good to know. So I got so many questions. I really do, but I do want to make sure everyone knows that it is an open conversation. If you have a question out there in the chat, throw it out there. Come off mute. Feel free to have a conversation because I'll sit here and take up the whole talk. I'm not honest with you because I am interested in everything people are saying. Last thing, Deborah, you had your hand raised.
I was looking for my mic. Is it ever a good idea to use, how you get in the mail, you get these offers and you'll get checks and they'll say just either you can take all your debt and consolidate it into this one credit card at a low rate, or you can get a cash advance and do whatever you want with it. Is that ever a good idea? I'll take that
James, I'll
offline.
let you take that one.
First of all, we're back to the snowflake thing. Every situation is different. Everyone's circumstance is different. One of my main themes is to be aware of your debt situation, and I believe that it's critical to not be overextended. I believe a lot of those are designed to be like pretty things that are pretty to the eyes, and oftentimes distractions. Now, I'm sure that there's plenty of people that have accepted those and they've worked out. Generally speaking, it's not my favorite thing to do. I'll just leave it at that. And what do you have for that, Diane?
I agree. And I don't see anything wrong with consolidating a debt if you've got somebody who's going to offer you a 0% interest for a period of time. If you're disciplined enough to pay that off in that period of time. Because again, you may be able to move one debt from the other at a 24% interest rate down to a 3% interest rate for 6 months. But after 6 months, it's going to go back up to way over that. So again, be disciplined enough to know the terms, know the rules, and again, live within your means. I think that that's something we will say to you over and over again. Live within your means. If you can't afford to pay it off every month, don't buy it. It's a good theory, but sometimes life happens. We understand that, but just know that you have a plan to pay that loan or make those payments on those cards and get that taken care of as soon as possible, keeping within that 30% or less limit.
And also make sure you read the fine print, because depending on which offer they send you, some of them like freedom debt relief and things like that, where they offer to consolidate everything and you pay one place. A lot of the fine print people don't know till they're actually involved. In essence, what they do is they let all the accounts become late. Yes, they do negotiate with your creditors to pay it, but your credit, if it was bad at the start of that, it's even worse. And in addition to that, they actually charge you a fee for that. It could easily be $1,000 to $1,500. I just prefer to take that money and pay it down yourself. That's just my general recommendation.
Always, if you're having trouble with a credit card, call the creditor. Talk to them about it. They may be willing to maybe renegotiate the rate or change your payment for you to help you make sure you get that payment done on time. They would rather see you make that payment than not make the payment. And so always I know it's probably a hard thing to do. Pick up the phone and call them and talk to them about what issue you're having and explain the situation to them and let them help you. Okay.
That's great advice, Diane. I actually have young people that call me from time to time. Maybe they get in a little tough situation with their budget and their car loan is behind. And that's exactly what I tell them. I said, don't avoid them. Call them.
Right.
Call them before they have to call you. And if just tell them the truth, and 9 out of 10 times they will work with you. I mean, they'll either reduce the payment, reduce the rate, and sometimes they'll give you a little grace on a month or two. I've seen it many, many times.
Correct. Correct. So, yes, don't be afraid. Pick up the phone and talk to people when you're having that issue.
You know how simple that sounds. It seems so groundbreaking to do
Oh, and
because
it's so hard to do. I know it's hard to do, but again, take a deep breath, make that call.
Think about it. Say you have a car and you're behind on your loan, and you're afraid that it might get repossessed. Now think about it from the bank's perspective or the credit union's perspective or whoever you have the loan from. Do you think that it's their first choice to repossess the vehicle? No, it's not their first choice. It's a choice that they would assume not have to deal with. So they'll talk to you. They'll talk to you and they'll work with you.
They're in the business of finance. They're not in the business of owning cars. And so it's not an asset they want. So again, they'd rather work with you than have to do that.
That's interesting that you put it that way. It is, like you said, when you think about it from a business perspective, when you think about, hey, where's my capital sitting, where's my cash, I'd rather not have it sitting in inventory, sitting in things that I can't get my money back in. Now I'm stuck with the debt. Now I'm stuck not being able to receive the income that I was expecting from loaning this money out. But, it just seems like, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm speaking for myself on this one, but it's very intimidating to know you have to really just man up or woman up and just say, yup, I made a mistake. This is what I need help with. And it seems like it's a thing we've told all over the time when we're young, like, hey, just tell the truth, just be real, we can work from it. But yeah, it's some benefit to just being real as possible and being transparent and feeling comfortable being transparent like that.
We've talked a lot about credit cards, but it works the same way with mortgages and homes. Banks don't want your house. They are not in the business of owning houses. They are in the business of loaning money. So it costs them a lot of money to hold a property if they have to foreclose on it. So please don't be afraid. Pick up the phone, take a deep breath and call them and talk to them about it.
Okay. Okay. Well, I feel like I'm talking like you talked to me on that one, but I'll take your advice. So I kind of want to talk a little bit more about, I know we mentioned like when we get into thinking strategies or hacks people can do. And when it comes to, let's say, when we go back to the basketball terms, say the assist, right? When you find, I know strategy out there is that you have like a authorized user and you're on someone else's credit card. Does that, or if, let's say, if you're that person or authorizing your credit to be used, could that help or could it hurt your score? And if it does, what should people kind of, I think, consider before doing this?
It could do both. Okay, really, truly could do both. So you want to make sure that person who you are relying on to access, and when Benson's talking about an authorized user, you're really asking somebody to say, hey, you've got a credit card. Could you add me as an authorized user on the card? You want to make sure that people pay their bills. Okay, so if have somebody who you're an authorized user on their account and they don't pay the bill, it's going to report on your credit report as a late payment. Okay, or if they max out the credit card, now all of a sudden you're beyond that 30% limit we've talked about, and now that hurts your credit scores. So you need to make sure you know the person that you're asking to be an authorized user on their account, to make sure that they're actually going to help you and not hurt you. James, what kind of advice do you have on that?
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And then it can work the opposite way too, where it can actually help you. It can help you. It can help the age of your credit. It can also help the utilization. Obviously, if you're, and I'll tell you what, at the risk, they may beat me up, but I have two daughters. Okay, and this is a real life situation. One of my daughters, her credit is like just strong as bear's breath. I mean, it's just very, very good. I mean, I call it my little baby Frankenstein that a guy like me could just put together and feed into, and they do everything you tell them to do. So her credit is really strong. And then I have another daughter who is immortal. She's immortal. She's a regular human being, and from time to time she'll stub her toe. And from time to time she'll call me, Daddy, what should I do? What should I do? I actually did have her go on her sister as an authorized user, and it helped her a lot because it gave her age to her score, it gave her utilization, it gave her additional installment as far as her credit mix, and it really helped. Now, you see a lot of things on social media now where they're literally advertising like selling trade lines. Some people do it, maybe it might work. I would say proceed with the utmost caution in something like that, where they're literally charging you, I don't know, $900, $1,000 for a couple of accounts that you can go on trade lines. Enter at your own risk. It's not something that I would be in favor of. Like Diane said, if you're going to do it with someone that you know. You trust them and they trust you.
Correct. And just as speaking of our kids, I did actually that for my kids when they were turned 18. I added them on an authorized user on a credit card. I did not give them the card, give them a card to use. But again, it gave them just that kind of fresh start build to help start that credit score. So again, that's a great way to start building credit. So again, you have to know the person you're dealing with.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because as we were speaking about it, James, it kind of made some wheels start to turn when you talk about how you have to be cautious, because what's to say they're actually using credit or credit scores from or social security numbers from people that are willingly giving it up. Are you taking this? Are they getting offline? Are they getting from the dark web and taking people's credit scores or not credit scores, but they're like the social or the information, and then letting that be the platform where they get paid to basically put you on somebody else's credit score. So yeah, you do gotta be careful, because I've seen it happen all the time, and I was all the time rather, but I was always curious about that because I was thinking, well, is it even legal to do, or is it going to cause them issues? But it sounds like if you are using it for the right reasons, it can be beneficial. But if it allows it to be something other than that, you don't know the person, it can end up hurting you. So that's very important to know. Then I also want to ask about some more or lesser known credit hacks, because this is wonderful. I feel like I'm getting a masterclass on what to do with my credit. So when it comes down to some more tips or strategies that you have around credit and how people can use or what they can use to boost their scores and really maximize those credit benefits, kind of like the MVP credit moves, if you will, on that one.
You want to go, Diane?
It makes no difference. You can go first.
Okay, I'll go on this one. I have two suggestions. One is how you can easily improve your utilization. One of the things you can do is you have a credit card and you've been doing pretty well on that credit card. So instead of waiting for them to extend your limit, you make the call and ask for a credit increase. So let's just say if if it's normally $1,000 is your limit, you've been doing well on that. You call, you ask for an increase, they increase to 5,000. Overnight, your utilization has gone up. So your utilization is less and your score is improved. And that's something that, most people can do. The second thing that I like that I haven't seen that much of, but I've had some people do it, and I like the concept. It's called bi-monthly auto debit, bi-weekly auto debit. And in essence, it's automated. say, for example, if you have a 30-year mortgage. So let's say if your mortgage is $2,000 a month, hypothetically. So it's automated so that half of that is paid every 2 weeks. So $1,000. So in essence, you're making one payment every month. And you think, okay, no big deal. Well, what happens is when it's all said and done, that's decreased your mortgage by several years. That's one of the positive effects. So overall, you're paying a lot less on that total mortgage. Obviously, it helps your credit rating because they're automatically on time. Also, and then another thing about that is even though you're paying a little bit more per year, it doesn't feel like it. It's great behavioral psychology for you. It just feels the same to your budget, but yet you're making nice positive progress.
And the benefit to that, James, is you pay less interest. Because again, as
Absolutely.
you make those additional principal payments, you're paying less interest on that loan. So that's a great, biweekly mortgages are a great way to set up. Again, it's great for your budget too. If you get paid every other week, it just takes that mortgage payment in half and helps you with that. So when you see your mortgage account and they offer a biweekly mortgage, check it out. It's not a bad option, and it's a great way to save some money and to help you build some equity a little bit faster. One of the things that I like to tell people is how to strategically use a credit card. And so a lot of, especially our younger generation, they think they've got a credit card, they go and put gas in their car, and then they see the bill pop up on the balance pop up on their statement the next day, they pay it off right away. Sometimes in order for the credit bureau to know you've actually used your card, you have to wait for that credit to cycle through that cycle. Could be a 30-day cycle. So again, what you want to do is use your credit card, put gas in the car, wait for the bill to come, then pay it off right away. And then again, start over again with that same thing. When you pay it off right away, like the day after you use it, it doesn't cycle through to the credit bureau and they don't think you ever use the card. So it's not helping you build that credit score. And so always strategically use your credit card, especially if you're trying to build credit. Now, if you have established credit, doesn't matter. Go ahead and pay it off. But if you're building credit, you need to make sure that credit bureau sees that you're using the card and you can manage that card as you use it.
Hey, all right. Oh my gosh. I just want to keep this going, but Deborah, I thought you threw your hand up. I want to make sure we get all the questions and everything in.
Put my hand up because I was trying to wrap my head around how paying my mortgage in 2 installments would help me save money. And I hear you, but I still don't see it.
So here's how it works. And so what you're doing is you're making a bi-weekly payment. So in other words, every 2 weeks, you're making one half of your mortgage payment. So essentially, instead of 24 payments, you're really going to make 26. You're making one extra principal payment. You're making one extra payment a year on that mortgage. So instead of once a month, you're paying it every 2 weeks. And so instead of thinking about dividing that by 12, you're dividing it by 26, because now we're into 26 months or 26 times that you're going to make a mortgage payment. So if you take that now, it's a little complicated, but follow me through. You've made now in a year, you've made 26 payments, but really the mortgage company only wanted 24, which really divided into 12 monthly payments. So you've made one extra payment a year. And so what you've done is you've now make that additional principal payment. On a 30-year mortgage, if you just simply make one extra principal payment a year, you take a 30-year loan down to about a 23, 24-year loan by doing nothing more than that.
So I don't want to stay too long in this lane, but is there a point in a 30-year, telling all my business here, is there a point in a 30-year where that process is, that little trick is too late?
No.
Really?
No, because again, you're going to just pay it off a little faster is all you're going to do. So even if you're 15 years in, you're still going to pay that loan off a little faster. Okay.
You know, I did have another question.
Yeah.
And this isn't me, but it's people I know are often asked to co-sign. Is there ever a good idea? Is it ever a good idea to co-sign for somebody else? My answer is no, but
I'm going to
I
say
have a
no,
hard
but
time
James, I'll let you
explaining
take
why.
this one too. So,
Well, at the risk of being a bad guy, unless it's somebody that's a very, 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 did I say very enough, close family member, I would say no. And even on that, I'm just not too excited about. The only thing I ever did that for was my daughters, period. No one
yeah,
else.
yeah, I agree. My kids, to help them out, did it on a student loan. But
You got to
again,
remember which side of the desk I've been on for so many years, and I've seen and heard every sob story. I
yeah.
have, and there's a lot of sad cosigner stories. So, at the risk of seeming like a bad guy, I would say steer clear.
And again, the thing that's going to trip you up is if they don't make the payment.
Mhm.
Okay. You are liable for that loan. And so if it's on a mortgage, if it's on a car, never ever do it for a friend, an acquaintance of yours. Never, ever, ever. I don't think we've said that enough. Do that for anybody you don't know. Maybe one of your kids. That might be the okay one. But other than that, never.
You gotta protect it. You gotta protect that credit
I
score.
don't care what the tears say, don't
You
do it.
know,
Just
I
don't do
remember
it.
my first car loan. My dad co-signed, and the bank thought that I was afraid of them. I wasn't afraid of them as far as missing a payment. I was afraid of my dad as far as missing a payment. So they weren't going to have any issues on that.
Yeah.
You know
Absolutely.
what, Vincent, I do have something else I wanted them to elaborate on, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
Let me just make sure everyone understands that we do have another poll that I want to make sure people get a chance to answer because, again, this is great information, and I'm hoping this is what we're getting, and you're all receiving what I'm receiving. I'm receiving a lot here, and I'm grateful for it. But we do have a poll coming up, and please answer that. Let us know, has this been something that you want to keep seeing? Because if it is, we'll keep showing it. That's why we have these fan favorites with us today. It's a fan favorite episode today. But go ahead, Deborah. Sorry to cut you off there.
And
Oh,
I
no,
did
not
see
a problem.
somebody's hand pop up. So if we could make sure we answer their question as well. So,
Yeah. Okay. My question kind of brings us back to basics. When people first get their card and managing how they purchase it, sometimes I struggle with my nephews and their kids in defining needs versus wants and helping them understand when you get ready to purchase something, you got to ask yourself. And so, how would you tell people to look at like various different purchases, the bling, the shiny stuff?
I would say, first of all, remember, credit is a tool. A tool. It is not a raise on your paycheck. Okay, it's a tool. Think about the average interest rate on a credit card is generally between 20 and 30%. So think about that. So if you are willingly going out there buying you some Jordans that you probably don't necessarily need, and you just added another couple $100 of expense, and then you're paying 30% on top of that, just think about it for a minute. So that's the first thing that I would address on that is just remember credit is a tool. It's a tool. It's not, oh, I got this plastic in my pocket. Now I got extra money to spend. That has happened to a lot of people. And when that does, it's a trap. So, try to avoid that trap.
That's
Thank you.
that's great. That's the best avoid trap. Okay. If you can't afford to pay for it, you can't afford to finance it. So,
You know what? Let's flip the script a little bit. Let's just say that $1,000, instead of you paying 30% interest, what if you invested that? Now, if you got most people not necessarily getting 30% on their investments per se, but let's just say hypothetically, if you were, just think about the benefit of that, of you actually receiving money instead of you always being the targeted consumer and paying all that extra money. And that's for another day, consumerism and being a target for just consumerism.
Mhm. That's a good point there because, like you said, you might not find a lot of investments that pay that type of money, but you're paying 30% to somebody. You're paying that percentage, you're paying 18%, 20-some percent, 27% on these interest loans, not interest, well, interest loans,
You
credit cards.
are you're their investment and it's paying them good.
Mhm.
Before they're gonna keep coming in, keep you coming as much as possible. But absolutely. Oh man, this is getting to the I'll try to hold back tears, but we gotta get to the point we gotta close it down. But before we shut down, and again, I want to thank everyone for being here, especially our panelists, especially people in the room, Diane, James, who all have been phenomenal. But before we go and you finish up and wrap up, what is one strategic takeaway people can use in their everyday lives, some actionable steps? Give us one good one. If each of you could do that, I'd be truly appreciative.
So I'll take this one first. So I'm a huge fan of monitoring your credit. Okay. There are a lot of free sites out there that'll do that for you. Credit Karma is one of them. A lot of times a credit card will offer you, if you especially have it through your bank, will offer you that credit monitoring. Know what your credit is. And like James originally mentioned, annualcreditreport.com, you can pull your credit report by law free once every year and do it and know what's on your credit report, know what they're reporting, get educated on how to manage your credit. So monitor your credit. And I always tell people it'll give you a score. Okay. Everybody's really focused on what my credit score is. It's going to be different on any one of those sites. Okay. You'll see different scores. So what you want to do is monitor the credit and watch the trend, not necessarily the score. If all of a sudden you went from a 700 score on that site down to 600, something happened and you need to figure it out. And so always be watching and monitoring your credit. Set up alerts for you. A lot of your credit cards will do that. Set up alerts on your credit cards to say your minimum payment is due or you've exceeded your credit limit, that type of thing. Set up those alerts and let them tell you what's happening. That's my big tip. And so, James, I'm going to let you go from there.
Certainly. There are a lot of little hacks that we talked about. The biweekly auto debit, I love that, especially on bigger things like cars and mortgages. I really like the hack as far as calling your credit card company and asking them to extend your limits. That's a good one too. And then another one that I really like is it's okay to pass and to say no when you get these offers in the mail. And also keep in mind that if you're wondering if your score is going up or if it's going down, you can almost monitor it by how many unsolicited pieces of mail that you're getting for credit offers. So if you're on a path of raising your credit score and without constantly checking it every month or whatever, if you're getting a lot of offers, that tells you in and of itself that your credit score is going up and it's moving in the right direction. So I guess my advice is don't be afraid to say no.
There's a slogan out there that says, just say no.
The opposite of Nike, just do it and say, hey, just say no. Okay.
Just say no. Yep.
But the Deer has said that, one of them said that. But before we close out, James, I did want to ask a quick question. So you mentioned a site people can use, and let me make sure I get this correct because I know there are some people out there that are wondering what was that site. Let me pull it back.
Creditstrong.com.
Credit Strong.
Creditstrong.com. And you know what? Another site I like that almost everybody has is just go to Cash App, put $100 in there, and buy you 10 different stocks. Okay? Let's flip the script a little bit. All right? Everybody can do that.
There you go. There you go. You heard it here first. And then you say that for the installment loans, what was that website again? Just to make sure everyone heard it. Because you said
Well,
it.
Credit Strong is a installment. It'll set you up
Okay.
as installment. And
Credit
the cool thing about it is you can pick and choose what you want, and then you make the payments accordingly. But they will, like, say, for example, if you pick $5,000, they will report it on your credit bureau of 5,000, and you haven't even paid them 5,000 yet. And then as you make each payment, they record that on all three bureaus. It's a pretty nice deal, and anyone can qualify for that.
Absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, everyone, we are at time. And I again want to thank Diane. And I want to thank you, James, for this wonderful session. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I'm grateful to continue to learn from you all.
We could talk about this all night, and I bet James could too, because it's just a passion of ours. And best of luck to everybody out there.
Absolutely.
Benson, you're wonderful. Deborah, you're awesome.
Yeah.
Diane, you're great too. So everyone, stay blessed.
Thank you for joining our Beyond Table Talk discussion. We appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time to be a part of another important conversation. We thank our incredible moderator and guest panelists for sharing their insights and expertise. We also want to take a moment to extend our deepest gratitude to our supporters. Your continued support helps drive each impactful conversation forward and empower real change. We sincerely thank you. Let's stay connected. Follow us on social media and visit our website to register for future discussions, resources, and community events. Let's go beyond Table Talk. If you'd like to support our mission, consider making a donation. Every contribution helps us continue providing valuable conversations and resources for our community. Donate today. Thanks again for being a part of Beyond Table Talk. We'll see you at our next discussion.